Hi everyone, Kirsty from Lifting Consciousness here. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining another podcast. Now today I've got another special guest with me, Robert Craft, also known as Rob Craft. I'm going to call you Rob, also known as Crafty Energies, but I'll say Crafty Energies in a good way when you think of magic and things like that, not crafty. I'm sure Rob would agree with that. So spreading the love and the Piscean love at that. Here is Rob. So welcome to the podcast, Rob. I hope you're doing well. You're further down in the UK than I am.
Yeah, I'm doing amazing as always. Just like so many positive things just keep happening from the love from oneself.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll see from this podcast that Rob kind of radiates this energy of love and compassion. That's what he's all about. And I'm sure he'll talk further about that. And today we're going to discuss boundaries, because that's a very important topic that we've kind of been conversing about and thought it would be good to do a podcast on, because it may just help those of you out there that it resonates for. So I've got some questions for Rob as well. But I don't know if you want to just start off, Rob, by giving a bit of an insight into who you are at the core. You know, if you want to just introduce yourself to those watching.
Well, I'm very kind of unconventional kind of person, always have been, always will be, because whatever's not felt right for me, I've steered away from it as much as possible. But I've also done that Pisces thing of self-sabotaging myself to people please.
Yeah, and that's it. And people pleasing is something that definitely ties in with boundaries. So the earlier podcast I did, if those of you have seen it, it's available on my channel. That was with Jess May, who is a psychic medium, and we talked about self-love and the energy of rebirth and transformation, because we've been going through a lot of that. Certainly with Pluto being in retrograde, it's now direct. And there's been sort of deep transformation going on at the core of us all. And that's been manifesting out in the collective, very intense energies. And as a result of that, we've had to really focus on ourselves. So that's where the self-love comes in. But our topic of boundaries also feeds into that. Would you agree, Rob? Because it's to do with worth, values.
Yeah, without a doubt. And also going into the astrology, because of the Mercury retrograde being, it was in Libra and stuff. So everyone was being forced to create that balance within and everything. And because we're in Libra season and everything, from all that thinking, from that process of that time of kind of putting it into action, what you've been doing in your mindset through that time.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a very turbulent time, as in a roller coaster when it comes to energies, and a lot of people can probably relate to that within their own lives for the reasons that Rob has just said. It has forced us to go within and really try and balance those feminine and masculine elements. Mars retrograde also has been not Mars retrograde, sorry, that's coming up, one of the many retrogrades that we're going to talk about probably, but Mars, when it went into Gemini, that was the kind of alignment that happened a couple of months ago now, I think it was, and that was creating, as we were talking about it on Instagram Live, weren't we, Rob, that it was creating that anyone that didn't have that balance within, it was creating that sort of frustration, aggression, maybe anxiety as well, scattered energy was sort of going on at that point. And we've come from that through that transformation as well, still going through the transformation. And obviously, yeah, you've mentioned Mercury retrograde. Mercury is now direct, Pluto is now direct. So it's kind of one by one, these planets are kind of turning back on in that way. And I guess we are as humans, you know, or souls having a human experience. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything more you want to say on that, really, Rob, in terms of as above, so below, you know?
Well, I already know intuitively, like you're saying, like everything going into stages and everything, but like what we're doing right now, I know people that in the future are going to be watching it, and it's going to go worldwide. It's going to go in circulation. So even in this present moment, I know how big this is going to be, this whole talk, and as well as a lot of other things that both of us will be doing in the future. And that's just because of listening to my own energy, that I'm able to read that energy.
Yeah, And that's important to do that, to be in tune with oneself in that way, with the intuition. And of course, yes, both Rob and myself are Pisces. We have different astrology, obviously, within our charts, but we're both Pisces suns. So we've got that intuitive sort of mystical sense about us. Would you agree with that, Rob? I think that's Pisces, you know, trying to go with the flow, and, you know, but we've got other aspects of our chart that obviously make us unique. And, you know, we were talking about this before starting the podcast, because I've got a lot of Virgo in my chart, but I'm Pisces sun, Pisces rising, Pisces Mercury, but a lot of Virgo as well. And of course, anyone that knows astrology, they're the opposite signs. So there is that push-pull within me, as in terms of the energy generally, and wanting to put things down for this podcast, but also wanting to go with the flow, you know, so that's how it mixes for me. But Rob, you've got interesting astrology as well, haven't you? If you want to let people know your rising and your moon.
Yeah, my moon's in Gemini, and then my rising is Leo, and then my Venus and Mars are both at 18 degrees in Aries, with my midheaven in Aries. So with that energy, with my moon, it's very kind of the same kind of energy of kind of this way, that way, you know, one extreme to the other. And yeah, and that's where the whole point and how valuable this conversation is being, because all of what we've both been through is about setting those boundaries inside ourselves to set ourselves to go forward in a balanced area within.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I agree with that. And it can be easily overlooked, can't it? Especially if you are a natural empath, especially when you're dealing with other individuals, you know, any situation really, but particularly with other people, because you can be very empathic and you can neglect your own needs in the process occasionally, you know. So it is important to turn it back to ourselves, to have that balance. And that's where it ties in with the self-love, self-worth and values. And when we know that within ourselves and we can trust in that, then that's it. Our boundaries are there. But I wanted to discuss with you, and it might seem a really silly question.
No, there's no silly questions.
No silly questions, no. But those watching or drawn to watch this because of the topic, I'm hoping will resonate with it. So I wanted to discuss why it's important to set boundaries. So again, it seems quite a silly or simple question. Why is it important? Now, one of the things for me I've noticed is energy drainage, because that can be something when we don't set boundaries, our own energy can get drained in certain situations. Would that be fair to say, Rob?
Yeah, because when you're a people pleaser, you're giving all that energy of your core being over to another. That means you're giving your control and power over to someone else, and you're not in control of your own energy. You're actually self-sabotaging yourself.
Yes, absolutely. So that's something that you can kind of discover, but only when you're depleted sometimes, because it's almost like, wow, why do I feel so exhausted? Why do I feel so drained? And then if there's a pattern, because I know you like your patterns, if there is a pattern and you think, oh, I've been around that particular group of people or that individual, or I've been doing this, I've been in this situation, you know, it doesn't always have to be a person, but I've been giving my energy to something else and now I feel depleted. That's where you can recognize it potentially as a pattern.
But that's where people can go wrong, because of the way that we're conditioned. Everyone fears one's own emotions and feelings, and then your instant reaction, because of the way you're conditioned, is blaming someone else and not taking responsibility for your own feelings and emotions. And once you kind of just go within and go, I don't like that feeling when I'm in that situation, instead of blaming a situation or a person, realize that it's not good for you. And then that is setting the healthy boundaries of coming away from that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it is taking ownership and responsibility for the boundaries that we need to put in place. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where the perspective, because people's perspective on oneself and others is very confusing because of the indoctrination that we've had through our parents, and then they've had from their parents. And that's where the long line of trauma has been passed on, and the codependency and neediness, because especially from a mother, because they want to give everything to their child, but that's also teaching them to be needy and codependent in any relationship that they go into, whether it's friends, and that's from such an early age.
Yeah, I agree with that. And abandonment issues can also be part of it, can't it? Because if you almost know within yourself that you're doing it and you need to put the boundaries up, but you're also fearful of being abandoned by someone else, you know, it's almost like, oh, I don't want to put boundaries up because that might push that person away. There can be lots of things going on that can lead to this almost blurring of the lines with boundaries. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, it's a big one, but it's kind of I say it's a big one because it's important, but it's something that's going on all the time, isn't it?
Yeah,
because we're existing in every moment, so it's always happening, going on.
When your feelings and emotions are so heightened, and that's the thing, depression isn't actually what we've been taught what depression is. That anxiety, that feeling in your body is actually telling you and warning you that this isn't right for you.
Yes.
Don't do it. But we like, all doctors want to do is just shove medication down you to mask the problem and actually deal with the problem. And also psychologists, most of them, not all, but most of them are trying to learn about themselves through dealing with you. So they're not actually, they're trying to help themselves, and you're trying to get that help. And then that chaos and conflict energy is just passed between the two. And that's where mental health awareness is so important, and it goes hand in hand with boundaries. And that's where you have to trust what you feel and not listen to what anyone else is saying, because only you will know what's good for you and what's not. And anyone that is saying, oh, you should be doing this and that, it's only because they're not doing those things for themselves, and they're projecting their insecurities, their kind of negative energy onto you. And then you feel that, and then you blame yourself.
Yeah, and I've certainly experienced that. You know, that's been a big lesson for me in my life, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that as well, because especially if you are a people pleaser, again, because it's all, and to use that term, you know, but it's almost like you're more likely to listen to someone else if you're kind of wanting to please them.
And you have to let go of that fear as well, because once you conquer that fear, because people come and go, but the ones that truly stay around are the ones that are going to uplift you, encourage you to be the best version of yourself.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, amen to that. I will say I echo that. Okay, brilliant. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you, Rob, about this, and you may have covered it already within your musings already, but what is the most important boundary that someone can set for themselves, if you were to sum that up for somebody?
Yeah, just to not do anything that feels uncomfortable. Just keep it simple, and it will be, because the more we complicate it, the more complicated our mindset gets, the more confused we get. Then it's like down a rabbit hole that you don't want to go down.
Yeah, excellent. And in terms of values, because I feel it does link to values, when we value our own essence, we're more likely to be able to have those boundaries in place easier, potentially. So in terms of the values that you uphold, what would you say is like the main value that is within your core that you uphold and you demonstrate, you know, on a daily basis?
Well, it's that thing. You when it comes to value, like everyone values love, you know, plain and simple. Everyone does. But people's perspective on it is a whole different kettle of fish. And that's where everyone's different. But you've got to look at the plain and simple thing. What do you laugh at? Because love is laughter, laughter is love. So if you're laughing at horror films or drama, conflict, or any of that, what are you saying, what you're drawing in? Because your perspective on that love is your energy, frequency, vibration. And that's what you're drawing in and attracting, even if you don't realize it at the time. But when you look back and what energy you're around or what you were drawn to, it's like, oh my God, it is that simple. So many people in such complicated ways, even gurus, everything.
Yeah.
And that's what's like really kind of on the self-discovery journey and awareness. And I'm still on it because it's never ending. But because of how, when you get triggered from traumas and stuff, whether it's good, bad, ugly, or beautiful triggers, you have to go within instead of looking at why you're, oh, that person makes me happy, that person makes me angry. Kind of concentrating on that energy, you've got to concentrate on your own energy of what it's actually saying to your actual core being within inside yourself, to actually understand what avenue you want to go down in life instead of focusing on another than yourself. Yeah.
And I know you say, keep it simple, it will be quite a lot on your socials. But that's important. And that just goes to show that phrase that you said is memorable to me. So it's more likely, and again, you know, we can listen to certain things that can be bad for us, you know, because we're consuming it, but that's a positive way to look at things. And I also believe, and I'm also, you know, I've been guilty of this, overcomplicating things where there's no need to, because that causes more anxiety, because it's the overthinking, isn't it?
Yeah, and that goes down to the whole school system, all of that. It's all a load of nonsense. Because it's that thing, it teaches you to chase knowledge and information, and if you don't succeed, you're a failure. And I've noticed on my journey, the less I'm chasing, the less I'm studying, the more the right information comes to me, because I ain't chasing my own tail.
Yeah. And also doing that Piscean thing of going with the flow with your reality in that way. I like that. I do like that. So that's great. So that's values. And again, it could seem quite a simple question on the surface, but what is self-worth to you? How would you describe self-worth?
The story that I tell myself. It is that plain and simple. Keep it simple, because it is. Because you've got to realize every aspect. You've got to accept the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful of yourself. And by the way, you're looking beautiful today.
Thanks. I'm wearing my, I don't know if you can see it. Obviously, it's, I think on Zoom, it will show it in the right way, but because obviously it's love. So I thought it's very appropriate because, you know, Rob is all about love, and love is very important. So,
and it's that thing, because of everything that I've been drawn to, pink is all about self-love, self-care. So and that's how easy I'm able to read people, because you wearing pink, it's that thing, you're doing that self-love, self-care, and more on it. It's like, you're doing so much of that self-love, self-care, like on like to the extreme and everything. And that's how you can tell. When you know yourself and understand yourself, then you can understand another. You can't try and understand another if you're not understanding yourself and everything.
I agree with that. And obviously for me, yes, I have been. So you're right. I have been exercising the self-love. And I did have a spiritual bath today, you'll be pleased to know. So obviously, you know, we talk about spiritual bath. That can mean different things to different people. So on that note, and I'm doing a complete Pisces thing of going down the rabbit hole. Have you got someone there at the door? No.
No. It was just Watson barking.
Oh, okay.
Because he needed to come out. But also that's a little sign, a message to, I know, activating me to say, everyone needs to take a spiritual bath, because salt water is cleansing. It cleanses away any negative energy you've picked up during the day, so you can have a peaceful night's sleep. Because it's so important, because when you go to sleep, you are so prone to that energy. If you're not washing that energy off, this is why you're having sleepless nights and uncomfortable rest, because you're carrying on that energy from the day.
Oh yeah, I like 100%. I could just shout that really loud, you know, because I've always been an advocate of a salt bath, and my close friends will relate to that, because, you know, certainly around the new moon and full moon, particularly, I've been saying, have a salt bath, you know, light some candles, bubble bath, the works. You know, whatever you want to do, listen to music, whatever, you know, it means different things to different people. And you're absolutely right. It's important to actually do it every day if you can, for that very reason.
Or when you feel drawn to, when you're feeling drained, and also when you're feeling drained and stuff, that it also sometimes means you're pushing and putting too much pressure, too much stress on yourself. And who's telling you to do that? Only you. No one else is telling you you've got to do that. And that's why I say it's all about the story that you tell yourself. It is that simple. And where do you get that pressure and stress from? The indoctrination from school of do this, and do that. And from parents as well.
Yes. I was about to kind of like laugh a little bit then, because when you said about the pressure, because again, we've conversed about this like privately, because of me saying in my human design, for anyone who knows human design, I'm a generator. So I feel like I've always got to be generating things. And actually, no, that's the wrong concept. I need to respond to things. So I've actually got to be in my flow, you know, really. But I remember you saying to me, you know, Rob said to me, no, you've got to rest. And, you know, to use your phrase, it's that simple. You've got to rest. Because I was almost like burning myself out with the overthinking aspects, I think. So, you know, that's why your advice is great to hear.
And that's why we're going to be noticing, especially with the vaccine and all like this stuff that's gone on, why things aren't going to be working, because anything man-made and masculine energy that's gone into it is not going to be doing it. Natural healing remedies will be working because they're from Mother Gaia. That feminine, beautiful, nurturing energy. Because just like a mother, of how a mother carries their baby for 9 months, it's attached to the umbilical cord, which is getting all the energy from the mother. So also the energy around the mother when she's carrying the baby also gets absorbed into the baby. And it's not until the baby gets that umbilical cord cut, takes its first breath, and all the energy of the universe goes within. But the energetic cord is still attached to the mother. And that's why I say the mother has to love oneself first before their kids, because it's the only way to break that, to teach them to do that self-love, self-care. To be a role model, you have to do it yourself. You can't say it. You got to say and do at the same time. And like I say, there's never two sides to anything. there's always three sides when communicating with oneself. You've got to listen to yourself, talk to yourself, feel yourself. You do those three principles and you can communicate with anyone if you communicate truthfully and honestly with yourself in those ways.
Yes. And that's important to say, truthfully and honestly, because how many of us do that? You know,
that's why, that's where another thing of creating those healthy boundaries within inside your core being first, because if you are being lying, deceptive to yourself,
yeah,
that is why you're having those kind of people around you and treating you badly. And that's why you can't blame or make excuses. Oh, that person's had a bad time, that's why they're treating me like that. No, it's because you've been treating yourself badly.
Yeah. So actually having that respect for yourself. So self-worth is that respect, isn't it? To have for yourself, the truthful conversations with yourself as well, and upholding your values and your integrity, I guess, but also coming from a place of love, as we know, that nurturing place of love, but nurturing ourselves. A lot of people might have heard the phrase, you know, you've got to fill your own cup up first. Within tarot, because we both use tarot cards, you know, the Ace of Cups comes to mind, because it's, you know, although that can be a new beginning in love, I also feel it's very much self-love. It's filling that cup up, you know, so that it overflows, and then you've got that abundance of love for yourself and for other people. So that's very good. Talking about cards, shall I draw some cards?
Okay. And because I give so much love out to so many people, like some days I have to have a 3 or 4 hour spiritual bath just to cleanse myself. And I wouldn't be able to sit here and be so vulnerable with my talking and so confident if I wasn't pouring in more love to myself, so my cup is overflowing, so I can give all of that to everyone else, because I've given so much to myself first.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's why after I went out for a walk earlier, I had one as well. Not that I interacted with a lot of people, but I intuitively felt I needed one today. So I did that, and I do feel a lot more refreshed as a result. So that's all positive, definitely.
It's
you know,
such a simple thing to do.
It is a very simple thing to do. And as we were saying, and I know I'm kind of, you know, going back on it, and I will take some cards, but you know, spiritual bath, salt bath, however you want to term it. I mean, for me, and I know this is kind of, you know, my personal information, but the perfect spiritual bath, salt bath for me is literally bubble bath as well, because I like the bubbles in the bath. I do, especially if they glisten a bit, because that's the sparkly Pisces in me that I love. But also candles. If I've got candles, you know, maybe a scented candle. I've got one that's called fairy dust, and it smells lovely. So something like that, perfect. And the Epsom salts, but I actually use frankincense and CBD oil infused Epsom salts, because that's very kind of relaxing for me. And I listen to music as well, and it depends. It will depend on my mood as to what music. Sometimes I don't listen to music, but other times I might have like a playlist on, or I might listen to some sound healing. It really just depends. You know, I don't really go down the route of listening to depressing, sad songs when I'm having a salt bath. It's more the kind of the joyous, as you were saying, what makes you laugh or what makes you smile. Is that kind of, you know, uplifting music. Yeah.
Because all media is programming yourself.
Yes.
And that's why you have to be very wary. And when you get to a point of consciously aware of kind of going, that's not for me, and cutting off and switching off from a situation, being present in a situation, but being detached at the same time.
Yeah.
And then you can master the art of being you even more so on a higher level.
Yeah, I agree. So the news is one thing that is not great to watch anyway, you know, for obvious reasons, but music, and you're right about there's messages in everything. And I love that. Again, that's me being the Pisces of loving the signs, loving the symbols, and things that come up, because I get quite, I get a lot of signs that come through you know, from spirit, or downloads if I'm listening to music, for example. It doesn't happen all the time. I have to be in the zone for it. But I've noticed, so I was driving yesterday and I had my playlist on. So it was on shuffle, and some of the songs, and there I am singing along in the car, and some of the lyrics were quite dark. When you think of it, it might be a pop song, but some of the lyrics are kind of, you know, you don't love me anymore, or I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you think if you're singing along to it, you're actually telling yourself.
You're programming yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
That's why you have to be wary of what you're speaking, the words
Yes.
that you're using and stuff. And
Yeah.
that's where it's called spelling. It is spells.
Yeah.
It's that thing of, once you are consciously aware, those words can either have meaning and value and energetic value to it, or it cannot. But you only can be doing that when you're actually that self-aware. But when you're not self-aware, they will program you to the max.
Yeah, agree. I so agree with that. Yeah. Right, I'll get on with the cards now. That was a little kind of, you know, detour that we went on, but I think that was quite useful, because again, you know, you sort of, I don't know, certainly with music, you can go along and just be singing away and not even realize it. Not even realize it, and then you do. But there's great songs out there that's full of positivity, and I still like some of the songs that might have those lyrics in, but I choose now, if I'm singing along, I just don't sing those words. So I am aware of when they're coming up. It's really bizarre. But anyway, right, I've got the Gilded Tower Royale, because I thought very much about sovereignty when it comes to boundaries.
Yeah, and it's like what you were just saying. Like, it's like what I say a lot, is that I listen to everything but nothing at the same time. At the same time,
yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll see what we've got here for the collective. And I'll get Rob's intuitive hits on these as well, because again, as intuitive readers, we get different messages often, you know, from the cards. Oh, they came out straight away.
Yeah, that's just to do with one's perspective of how one sees things. That's where everyone's perspective is right for them, and you can't judge another because of that. And if you are judging another, you are only judging oneself. And just be very wary of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, these are interesting straight away to me, because we've got the 2 of Pentacles and the 8 of Cups. And what I'm drawn to straight away, if you can see that, is the character in both these cards looks like the same person, but obviously facing the one way. And this is the choice card to me anyway. And then needing to walk away once that choice has been made, needing to walk away from what isn't serving them emotionally, because it's Cups energy. What do you think for that? Can you see them, Rob?
Yeah. Well, like the first one, the moon one, go to the other one. 8 of Cups.
Yeah.
I focused on the moon straight away, and because this is what I was going to say earlier, actually. The moon controls the water, the tides of the sea and everything, and the it's that the world is made up is nearly the same as what's water that's in our body. And that's why we're so controlled by the moon, because it's just science. It is that simple. And yeah, it is that simple. But what I'm also feeling is like, with this full moon coming up and everything, like harvest time and everything, but also with what we're talking about, the boundaries, it's just walking away and looking at your emotions, and like looking into the distance and going with that feeling of going forward. And from doing with the other card, with the ship in the background, and then the rainbow as well. Rainbow is to do with blessings that are just flowing with balance between your 2 hands, and also ships coming in the night kind of thing, with blessings carrying abundance coming towards you, because you're being your true authentic self, and that abundance rolls in with it's that simple thing. Why do you think some people are really rich in some areas in life, whether it's wealth, friendships, relationships? That's only because of their energetic value that they have in their core being. The more you raise your conscious awareness and your energetic frequency and vibration, you will call in those avenues. And that is how easy and simple it is to manifest the life that you want, from the story you tell yourself with the energetic value. Because what is going on up here is just electric impulses keep going, and you're just a beacon for drawing that energy in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And also noticing, even it's Pentacles energy, so it's earth energy, the fact that he is standing in water, you know, it's almost like choosing to walk away from what's not serving you and to have the power to manifest in what you do want, like you were saying with the ships, is very much based on the emotions. But you're right about the moon, and certainly with astrology, you know, anyone that knows their astrology and they know what their moon placement is, that can certainly tell you a lot about, you know, how you as a soul in this human experience kind of work with your emotions, you know, based on everything else. So that's good. I'm drawn to looking on the bottom, hidden energy.
And while saying that, and right now, it's like I am shaking a little bit my body in that, and that isn't just because it's windy or cold. I can't even get the words. I know I'm picking up energetically the vibration of what we're talking about.
Yes, yes. It's powerful when you realize that you are that co-creator of your reality, isn't it?
It's just like the science experiment of the tuning forks. You hit one and the other one's making a sound. Your body works in that same way, but you have to train oneself. And the way you train oneself is just your mindset. And that's what, like, when I've been asked, what do you do for work? I work on myself.
Yes. Yes, free spirit. That's what we were saying before, definitely. Well, on the bottom, we've got the Four of Pentacles. So there is that in the hidden energy, there is almost a guardedness to maybe doing that, you know, perhaps being a bit protective of the heart space when it comes to knowing what we really want and what we deserve. But do we really know that, you know, as a collective, and holding that pentacle there like a shield in a way. But in this particular deck, what's also what stands out to me is the fact that I don't know if you can see it, but he's holding one pentacle up. It's almost like it's another choice card, even though traditionally it's not, because it's the Four of Pentacles, but you know, he's actually choosing the pentacle. So maybe that in itself is, you know, when it comes down to that, but recognizing you've got to let your guard down a bit when it comes to your emotional stability, because it's stability, isn't it? But emotional stability. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah. Should I take an oracle as well, Rob? What do you reckon?
Yeah. And I was just going to say with that card, because he's in red, once you're grounding yourself, and on his head was purple and green, and that's psychic, that's your crown chakra and the heart chakra. When you connect the mind with the heart and the heart with the mind in balance, you will be grounded in your chakras to then bring in that worth. And it's like holding that tray of abundance in front of you. When you're doing all of that, all that abundance will be in your hands. It will be coming.
Yeah.
And what I was also thinking is, when seeing that, it's like movies, because when in UK anyway, it's like they have they have breaks, and they have like a little tray thing with little snacks and
yes.
So
yeah, at the cinema. Yeah.
I think I may have someone famous, a movie star, reaching out to me, because also I was thinking because I've had 3 job offers, and there's I wouldn't be surprised if a movie star or celebrity comes in with an offer for me for a job. See, even though I'm reading for the collective right now, I'm also reading for myself. And because I read my own energy, I'm able to do that so clearly. And I've had psychics, whether they've been scam artists, con artists, or real ones, come out and ask me if I want a reading. I'm like, no, I read my own energy. I don't need a reading from anyone else, because I do it within.
And that's the thing also, because, you know, those that do message, that's not, that is not the way to go about it, isn't it?
I've shut them down so quickly.
Yes.
How did I do it? I said, I don't need a reading, but I know you do, so go love yourself and everything. And they didn't like that. And they still asked, what reading would I like? And then I just spammed them with loads of monkeys and everything like that, because they've got monkey mind, as they call it. And then I got blocked by a con artist. Instead of me blocking them, I got blocked.
But in a way, doing that, as you were saying about, you know, you're actually responding to them, but in that way, you, again, that's exercising your boundaries also, isn't it? By saying, look, I don't want any of that, leave me alone. But interestingly, what I noticed here as I had them on the table, look at the kind of mirroring.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. With energy, you have to confront your fears, because people fear con artists and or people fear others. And you've got to match them with the same energy. You can't be fearful, because once you match someone with that energy, they run away, because you ain't running away. When you ain't running away from yourself of that and release that fear, you become flipping fearless. And then people are running away because they're running away from themselves, because they can't handle your intense energy of love for oneself. Yeah.
So there we go with the mirroring there, as Rob has described. So I've got the wisdom of the oracle. So I'm going to I'm just going to take a card from this and we'll see what comes through, because I do love this deck. And then we'll wrap up our discussion on boundaries. So let's see what we've got for the collective. This deck is always a bit more awkward to shuffle, but...
And also for the people watching this, it is a clear indication that you're open to receive, you know, guidance, because it's okay to ask for help and stuff, but you have to ask it from the people that actually know oneself, and you'll know energetically whether they're not or whatever, because it'll feel comfortable, it'll feel calming and relaxing, because I know that's what I get when I talk to people. They're like, oh, you're so calm and lovely to talk to and stuff like that. But then it's like my friend earlier, she was like, but I don't understand your videos you put out. I go, that's because they're there for triggering people to actually deal with themselves. I am that, my mind is that kind of, I wouldn't say complex, but I see it because of what I've done with myself. So I put out that content to trigger people so they address themselves, so they can then heal from themselves, because trauma, once you face it and become fearless, you heal within and you feel so much better for it. I'm not doing it to be nasty or whatever. It's because I know the process of what one has to do to heal oneself.
Yes, and I've been triggered, but the triggering, although it was quite, it actually did help me. So I can totally relate to that. And often we need to be shook to the core a bit in order to trigger ourselves into that transformation. But you do get, I mean, there are different ways of delivery, aren't there? And that's the thing, because everyone's got their own unique gifts in that sense of putting the messages out there to the collective. And again, this is no surprise, you've got that balance there because you've got the balance anyway, but you've got those very, very empowering about love, and you've got to love yourself. And then you might have another one that's quite kind of, oh, whoa. But having that balance there helps as well, because people do need to see it. And if they can't, you know, if it's not their time, they're not ready for it, that's fine. But
see, that's the thing. People that don't want to see their dark side, or people that don't want to see their light side
Yeah.
of them. It's that thing, you're born in two different directions. You have to
Yeah.
see both sides of yourself. You know, people like that are like really kind of disturbed kind of people, like people hate them and everything, like, oh, but also hating yourself while you're doing that, because you have to be consciously aware, yeah, I know that's not right, and that makes me uncomfortable because that's not how one should be. But that's where you
Yes.
detach yourself from it and not care about it. And that's a hard thing to do, because when it's very disturbing stuff, and because of having such a big heart, it pulls it, but you
Yes.
do have to disconnect from that in order to realize, yeah, that sort of energy, that's not me. I'm that sort of person. But instead of kind of just focusing on their energy, you have to focus on your own. And that's how you can detach from that and actually heal yourself and become a better version of yourself, by not using that as an anchor point. Because that's the thing, be very wary of your anchor point. If you got hate in any area, that is holding you back. It's like another coming away from you. The same with love. If you're concentrating on too much love or whatever, you're pulled in that direction. You have to find that center of balance of seeing both sides, both perspectives.
Yes.
And that's where the third way comes in, of the balance within.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, the card that came out is why, but it's in reverse. Okay.
Yeah.
So there may be some kind of, with everything that's been going on within people's lives, there may still be that underlying kind of, why is this happening to me? Why? And not being able to move away from that, potentially, because it's in reverse. On the card itself, there is somebody who is approaching a book, but it's almost like an angelic book, because we've got the wings there as well. So what do you feel from that as well, Rob?
Well, it's like the saying that everyone says when you're realizing your self-awareness is, all answers are within. The book of knowledge of everything is within.
Yes.
And it's that thing of, some are listening and going, oh, I don't believe that nonsense. That's because you're not listening to oneself, because you can't listen to me if you're not listening to yourself. It is that simple.
Yeah.
And you'll notice, once you start listening to yourself, you'll be guided in a direction. And you have to realize where the conditioning is, you know, in you from day one that you've come into this world. Because if you're meeting resistance and it's hard, or it's a little bit of a struggle, then that is because you're not being true to yourself, because you're only met with that resistance when you're doing that resistance within. It's that mirror reflection thing. And that's where you're a sponge and a mirror at the same time with energy. And you have to balance that out and realize that and go with the waves. And the more you love yourself, the more you steer yourself away from those obstacles that you did have in the past. And you can't concentrate too much on the past energy, because that keep you stuck of the old energy. And if you concentrate too much on the future, that also, in your mindset, you're torn in two different directions. And that's where you have to be at the present moment in time, and feeling and the thinking, but solely trust what you feel, not what you're thinking, because we are being conditioned to think than to feel. How many times do you actually get taught how to feel? No, it's always about the thinking. All schools, all anything to do, business, work, whatever it is, it's all about thinking. So this is the core essence of feeling. If you think of a wild animal, say a deer, it instantly senses when something's there. Do you know why that is? That simple thing of listening to what its body is telling it, saying there's danger about. When
Yes.
you don't, you
Yeah.
meet that danger, and it's not nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Moving from the thinking to the feeling, yes, is definitely important, but can be very challenging because of those reasons of being conditioned and everything. And sometimes it's easier to sit in, you know, fear and doubt because, you know, you may be more used to that rather than moving into that kind of more prosperity mindset, because perhaps you've never experienced it. So it can be challenging, it can be daunting, but
it's that fear of the unknown. And
yes,
just everything that's going on right now, there is a high level of that energy, and that's why everyone's feeding off. We all fear the unknown because because we're at this kind of energetic kind of timeline point that we've never ever been at. Yeah, I mean, like from millions, thousands of years, we've never been at this energetic point. And that is why there's going to be chaos and conflict rising because of the fear of the unknown. And this is why we need to spread this love and compassion to raise our conscious awareness. And from doing so, everyone has a different key of information and knowledge. And once we do that, we will also get the technology and stuff that we had back in the Egyptian times, but even more extreme than that. I know that.
There you go. Well, you'll be interested to know what's on the bottom of the deck, because it ties in with a bit of what you were saying about uncertainty, almost stepping into that uncertain territory, but also can link back to transformation in terms of what I was saying. Literally between worlds.
Yeah, and then that goes to the thing of spirits, because my mum's been seeing more spirits lately as well, because her twin died 2 days before she was born, so she is linked to the two worlds. And that's where, if you're negative, you will be experiencing negative energy around you, and it's going to be screaming at you. And also she's been hearing voices as well. But also, if you're positive, you're going to be met with abundance and all happiness and good stuff and everything. And I know this because the other night, I tried to get my mum to come out here because I sensed a spirit, because I don't see them, I don't hear them, I just sense them, I feel them. And I tried to get my mum to confront it. She didn't. She was like, "Oh, you're being silly, silly, Robert." I was like, whatever. I went to bed. A few minutes later, she knocked on my door. "Robert, are you awake?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "What's up?" "I've just seen a little girl in the garden." I was like, "Yeah, I know. I did tell you in front of it." It's like, "Are you going to believe me now because you see it?" And that's going to be happening. And I know I won't see it because I just feel them. And that other people, because I know through connecting with different spiritual type people, some see it, some, you know, experience it in different ways. And the people that don't understand this kind of, but real low, people that don't understand this are going to be freaking the hell out.
Well, yeah, because it can be quite, can't it? And for me, I'm the same as you. I can feel and I sense the presence, but also I've had a situation. I mean, this is obviously going a bit off track from our discussion, but I've had an experience where I've visited that realm, and that is something that that's happened to me, and the effect it had on my body. So going a bit deep now, but that sense of my soul was somewhere else at that point, because I was and I saw a late member of my family, but it was as if we were in the same room, and it was so real. It wasn't a dream. I was conscious of all of this going on, and the effect it was having on my body my temperature was rising, my heart was racing faster. It was having an effect. I had to, at that point, because it was the first time I'd had that experience, I had to get back into my body, because it was what's going on. Had I have been able to control and maintain, I could have been there longer, could have been having a conversation, could have been, finding out more from that side. But, I was open to it, because that's what happened. So yeah, we have different experiences, 100%. And I think with everything going on, there's more, potentially more activity or heightened activity. Yeah.
That's why I had to stand up quickly just then, because of just my energy, just to dispel the energy, because I was feeling and sensing something. Because I was just gonna say F off, because if you are just like fearless like that, it will just go, because I don't feel it anymore. But I had to just confront it, because if you don't confront it, it will consume you, that fear.
And that's a nice way to link back to boundaries, because in terms of confronting, in our everyday life, in our experiences, but recognizing and remembering what you were saying earlier about talking truthfully to yourself, and therefore naturally kind of emanating those boundaries energetically, because when you're walking and talking your truth in that way, others can't necessarily infiltrate. And I mean that in terms of the 3D experience.
And that's another thing I want to add. Not all spiritual and awoke people are actually awoke. They are down different rabbit holes.
Yes.
This is also what I've been aware of. Sometimes people have gone too far down a rabbit hole, and they think they're all positive, all light and all beautiful stuff, and they actually aren't. And that's because they're around the wrong type of people. And the only reason I'm aware of this is just because of my conscious awareness and the people that I connect with. Because now I wake up with so much just love, like just thank you, just thank you and love you, much love to you, this and that and everything. And it's genuine, because I know 100% I'm being genuine with myself. I'm not lying or deceiving to myself. And I can wholeheartedly say that, feel that, and I know from just saying that, in the way that it's had that little in my voice, I know it's felt through everyone that's hearing this.
Yes.
Because I'm listening to myself while I'm talking.
Well, that's right. No, that's right. No, it does have an impact on who you may surround yourself with, in terms of your own energy and how you feel. But again, to remind everyone that we have the power to control that, because if we're setting those boundaries, then that's it, that's our boundaries, and that's it.
That goes to the saying that I normally say to whether it's a male or female, that you're a god or goddess of your own universe that resides in your core being. Because if you just think of it in that simple term, and the fact of the Big Bang, and when, well, to be a little bit cheeky, but when you have a Big Bang with two people, you have a little universe, a little baby that comes along. It's the same principle as the Big Bang. It is that simple.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I have got on my little piece of card here some quick fire questions for you for a bit of fun, just to round it off. But before I do that, do you have any final words about boundaries in terms of what we've been discussing, or any last words of advice from you about that?
No, because I think we've done it in quite a simple and self-explanatory way, that it doesn't overcomplicate it, which is beautiful. Definitely.
And another tarot card, because again, a lot of people who watch, they may be familiar with tarot. An image came to my mind when we were starting to discuss this, and it was the 9 of Wands.
Did you notice that?
No, well, I saw you look up.
Well, it's a flash.
Well, that was weird. Was it when I went like that?
I don't know, but just I noticed.
Yeah. Just interesting. It's all going on, peeps. It's all going on. I suppose because it's getting darker here in the UK. So any lights in the sky or whatever you're noticing, then it's something in the sky.
Yeah. Well, I think like lightning, but it was just a flash.
It's a flash. Yeah. How interesting. I've forgotten what I was saying actually. So I don't know what I was saying. Oh, the Nine of Wands.
That's
Sorry.
where I'll go. Don't put pressure or stress on yourself because you forgot something.
Yeah. So it was the Nine of Wands. That came into my mind because certainly in the Universal Weight deck or Rider Waite tarot, it's, you know, this guy who's clinging on to one of the wands and obviously got the others there, but almost like a wall. But it's almost like a kind of a fixed defensive position. And it depends, of course, what other cards come out. If I'm doing a reading for someone and it comes out, it would tell me that there is that kind of, you know, either the need to put up boundaries or the need to let some boundaries down, you know, to be less guarded. So I just find that interesting. And I might try and find the card whilst we're just wrapping up here. But yeah, I don't know if there's any other kind of cards that you...
Oh, something that I will add. It's like when you're setting those boundaries with inside yourself, when you're putting so much love inside yourself, you repel negativity away so easily.
Yeah.
It's like earlier I had a message and everything, and I bombarded someone with so much love that they never replied back. And it's like, it's comical. And that's where you can't take it personally. If someone can't reply to you, it's just because they can't deal with your intense love for yourself. It is that simple. Because I used to take it as a personal thing, like, what's wrong with me? It's like, I'm lovely.
Yeah, it may be that, or it might be that that person is putting up boundaries. You know, when you look at, when you flip it, it depends on the situation, doesn't it, really, in terms of what's going on.
And that's where it goes back to the story that you tell yourself.
Yes.
And that's where I'm putting my boundary up now. Okay, no, I know I'm right. It's like, don't tell me otherwise.
And I'm going, hang on, look at the other side. But no. This is the card that I had in mind. So that's what came through to my third eye when we started talking about boundaries. So you get that sense of, you know, no, I'm not going to let that wand go, but needing to be protective of your own, you know, your own integrity, I guess, is important. That's interesting.
Only yourself can tell you what integrity is to you. And the same with like any word. It's like some words have multiple different meanings, but it all depends on your perspective on what you're telling yourself. And that's where you have to really concentrate on what you're saying to yourself and listening to it and then feeling it. Because it's like they say about manifesting, you've got to feel it first. But if you're not thinking of the right perspective and the right aspect, how are you supposed to call something in if you're causing that chaos and conflict within your mindset? But when people talk about manifesting, they don't talk about it in this simple way. No,
you're right. You're right. And that the moon that is coming up next week is the new moon. So we've got the new moon in Scorpio on the 25th, I believe it is. I'm pretty sure it's the 25th. I'm now doubting myself. I think it's the 25th though. I'll have to check that. But it's coming up in Scorpio with an eclipse as well.
It's that thing of, it's like I always say as well, even when I'm right, I'm right. Even when I'm wrong, I'm right. Because in that moment, I feel like I'm right. So it's that thing of you can't question yourself because you're only causing that doubt and you're causing yourself to be stuck like that. And if you are wrong, what does it really matter in the hindsight of things, it really doesn't. So you're putting on yourself, and that's where you can be more in tune to be more in line with oneself, because you stop doing overthinking or thinking, because you're just doing the feeling. It's like the other, someone popped into my head and I sent them a message going, I know you're thinking about me and everything. It's amazing, isn't it? And she replied back going, oh, that's freaky, that's spooky. And she was like, I was thinking about you, actually, about the interesting chat we had the other day. It's like, oh.
But it's like, well, yeah, I know, because I felt it. I was intuitive as well, but I felt it. Yeah, absolutely. So what we'll do then to round this off is I've got these quick fire questions. So I just want your fastest answer to come from within. I'm sure it will. Okay, so first of all then, tarot or oracle cards?
Tarot.
Astrology or human design?
Astrology.
Incense or candles?
Can I have both? Both. I'm both with that one.
I know you like, you like both, as do I, but what is your favorite?
Hey, now you're asking a Gemini moon that's indecisive. What's I'm sticking with my answer, both. Both,
right, fair enough. Okay. I think I know the answer to this one. Spiritual bath or shower?
Spiritual bath. But I mean, I would love to be underneath a waterfall and have that feeling of like actual natural, well, being in a natural habitat of just that's something.
I've
that's
meditated.
There's a flash. Did you see it?
No, but I was going to say it is a dreamy Pisces thing, because I've had meditation visuals, many meditation visuals of me being under a waterfall, and it's gold. The water is gold, like gold and sparkly, as you can imagine, but like literally gold and sparkly. And there was an elephant there, not under the waterfall with me, but there was an elephant there, and I'm like, this is just totally Pisces. So yeah, I know what you mean. So you could maybe you could create a spiritual shower, rather than a spiritual bath. But I like that idea.
Well, because my friend, she hasn't given it to me yet, but she bought me a present of a Himalayan salt bar, and I was like, oh, that's amazing. I said, when I go traveling, I can take that with me when I can't have a spiritual bath. And she was like, never thought about it like that.
Oh, there you go. So you're under the waterfall with your Himalayans. I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay, so favorite crystal?
I don't have a favorite.
Is there one you're particularly drawn to? Is there a crystal that you're particularly drawn to for its healing properties or how it looks?
And that's the thing of the moment the energy, because depending on the moment and energy, you're drawn to different crystals. But right now, at the moment, is the moss agate that you can't really see it that well, but on my and because moss agate, I know just off the top of my head, is about abundance, and I find it funny that I've got a ring that's just the right size for my little finger. I'm going to have abundance around my finger. I'm manifesting it all around, like, hey, come on.
There you go. Okay. Sweet or savory?
Well, when
don't say both.
When it comes to food,
food,
biscuits, so savory.
Or a cheese sandwich.
When it comes to love and passion, it's always got to be the sweetness.
It's always got to be sweet. Yeah, I concur with that, but I'm sweet rather than savory anyway when it comes to food. But yeah, sweet love. Okay, hands-on healing, massage or Reiki? So like, yeah, so having a hands-on healing session,
And look, my Aries is going like wild, you know.
Yeah.
It's like you said,
And
hands on. That's all I'm hearing.
I've got Venus in Aries as well, but no, having like a hands-on healing session or a hands-off Reiki healing session, if you know what I mean. Hands on the body or energetic?
Well, it would have to be my partner if it's hands-on healing, because of just, I know my energy is like, if I'm physically being touched in those ways, it's going to activate my
unicorn horn,
primal instinct and everything. So because I'm aware of that, I'm like, right, it's only going to be someone that's going to have all of me to have that healing hands-on. But if it was, so it's like two different answers. If it's just from someone else, it'd be off thing, because I've got, the amount of connections that I've got, but I've got a beautiful friend that sends me Reiki healing from America, you know, sometimes, and that. And then I've got a friend in Australia that sends me light code, like voice notes. But I also got a light code friend language, lady Donna, who's called Love Consciousness in Cornwall, that has also done that for me as well. And then I just have people that just saying it like verbally, as well as just, so it's that thing of, I'm getting love healing from everyone I connect with, because of the love that I'm putting in me is coming back from all different avenues in all different ways. So it'd probably be like off the Reiki healing, because I'm constantly getting it, even when people don't realize they're giving it to me, because of the love and compassion I'm putting into myself. And when people think about me, it's like, oh, Rob's a lovely person. So that in itself is healing.
Oh, definitely. And that's, again, it goes back to the balance as well, because also with you giving that love in whatever way, you're also open to receive it as well, aren't you? And that's another thing of being comfortable in the heart space, is being open and receptive to receive. So that was a very long answer to that, but I'm getting from you that if you're in a partnership, it's probably the hands-on massage that would be quite, because of the intimacy and the connection, but Reiki healing is obviously powerful.
And that's where the boundaries come in place, that like just knowing that when I'm fully, sorry, there was another flash, it seemed. And I'm loving, like, it looks like a little halo.
Yes.
But it's that thing of being so committed with myself and so grounded within, and that's exactly the energy that I know I'll be bringing into a relationship with my divine, beautiful goddess that is divinely just for me.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, I think that's a perfect place to leave our discussion then, Rob, unless you've got anything else that you want to add to that.
Nah, keep it simple, it will be. And I love me, I love you, and I love all of you, and I appreciate me, I appreciate you, and I appreciate all of you.
Yeah.
And also, it's that thing, and goes to like when Snoop Dogg did that talk of saying, I thank me and everything like that. He understands the true value of that self-recognition and credit to people. I know there's some that looked at it and you could hear laughing and everything. And that's only because it makes them uncomfortable that they're not doing that themselves.
Yeah. Well, as all the flashes are going on around you there, we'll wrap it up. But if anyone wants to find you, to reach out to you, where can they find you? Now, you have got social media, so let everyone know your handles and everything.
Well, it's Crafty Energies on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. They're they're probably the ones that I mainly like keep an eye on or whatever.
Yeah, cool. All right. So check Rob out over there. I'll put the details in the description box. And then, you know, if you're on Instagram, you can find him. And there's always a lot of content on there. So, you know, it's very insightful, you know, what Rob puts up. And, you know, you've even said yourself, sometimes you talk in code, but it's code that means something.
Yeah, even when one doesn't understand, because it penetrates the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
And I'm very aware of actually doing that, because, and that's where, like, if someone questions me, I'm like, well, I'm doing it because of this. I already know. It's like chess. I'm already doing 10 steps ahead and everything because of the work that I've done. I've done the level of work of in myself, of what I'm putting out to raise everyone else's conscious level up, because the more of that energy, frequency, vibration, the more my conscious level can go up, because I can't do it alone. And that's where that saying is, that we're stronger together.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I vouch for that as well, you know, obviously with the lifting consciousness, because it's all about helping people raise their own consciousness to elevate, so that the collective can, you know, the collective consciousness can be raised as well. So absolutely. And we are all one, and we are stronger together. I agree completely with what Rob's saying. So thank you, everyone. Another flash. There you go. Flash of inspiration. But no, thank you everyone for watching. And you know, of course, whenever you find it, it's going to be relevant for you. So reach out if you've got any topics that you might want us to cover in a future podcast. But you know, in the meantime, check out Rob on the socials, and we'll be back again soon.
Check out yourself.
Yeah, I'll put my details there as well. Anyone that's not following me on social media.
And you've forgotten to thank the most important person.
Myself. Yeah. So okay. Yeah, I'll give gratitude, you know, for myself for being here, and also for Rob, you know, being my guest, because again, having the discussion with someone else, it's good to go on a podcast and to talk about a topic, that's fine. But also I feel that when you've got someone else there, you've got that different perspective, you can vibe off each other, things come up naturally, as they have done in our communication. I mean, who was to know we'd be talking about, you know, gold sparkly waterfalls. So, you know, it's anything can happen, I guess. But if it helps somebody out there, then we've done our job, you know, when it comes to that, because we're all about coming from that place of love.
It's because we've done that job within first, and that's why it's so important. And so just how aware I am of just how you thanked yourself first before me, which is what everyone needs to do, because that means that you are truly valuing oneself. And I notice signs and messages, and it's that thing, my battery's on 37% and I'm 37 years old, and it's just simple little messages like that I notice. And that's beautiful. Yeah, synchronicity, absolutely. Well, appreciate you, Rob. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Keep spreading the love like you will. I know you will. And yeah, I will say goodbye. So thanks everyone for watching, and take care. Bye.